everyone, welcome to my new channel, Secret Diary of an Expat. I'm Eliana Pelaggi. I've been living abroad since 12 years and I would like to share with you all the experiences of living abroad, how is it looking like, and I would like to interview beautiful people that I meet while traveling abroad. So today I have Kiiara from US. We met here in Albania. We are in the beautiful south of Albania, Saranda, and we were talking on this sofa actually, and I was like, oh my God, we should record what we're saying because it's so valuable. So this is what we're gonna do here, and we're gonna start our conversation.
Yes.
So let's start with very, very easy question. So tell us, like, who are you, where are you from exactly, and what brought you to leave your country?
All right, well, I'm Kiiara Ramsay. I am from the US. I'm originally from California. What it brought me?
Yeah, what brought you, like how long have you been living abroad?
Okay.
First question.
Yes, so I about 13 years ago, I traveled for about a year, and then about 2 years ago, I just sold I had a house, I had car, I had all kinds of stuff. I sold everything, and I've been outside the U.S. for the last 2 years. And what brought me to living abroad was I had everything on paper according to, American society, like what looks good on paper and having all these things. And the more I fit that on paper, the more unhappy I was with my life. And so I just took and pulled the rug out from under my life. I sold everything, and I was only planning to travel for about a year. Some of it was kind of travel, some of it was kind of living places for a while, and it's turned more into living places.
So then I'm going to ask you already another question because,
Okay.
I like it to be very personal on these interviews, in this talk. Like, how old were you when you decided to leave?
The first time?
How old? Yeah.
I think I was about 35 is when I really first started traveling. I kind of got a little bit of a late start. I had traveled a little bit, not anything major like Mexico, Canada, like typical Americans, the majority. And I had been to Jamaica and Belize. That was about it. And Canada. And so I was about 35, and it's kind of like, I guess that's the first time I had like a breaking point, like, I need to change everything. I need to change everything.
And it's so good that you were 35 because one of the biggest belief of people that you go traveling only when you are in your 20s. Do you know what I mean?
Or when you're in your 60s and 70s and 80s.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
When I meet people and, majority of people are like, oh yeah, in your 20s, in your 20s. But this is not true. If you feel at some point, the place where you live doesn't reflect, the best of you, you can definitely say, hey, I want to have an experience abroad and let's go.
I want to see the world, and the life I was living and who my partner was. I was married. We had a 10-year plan to go just to New Zealand in 10 years from then. So I ended up getting divorced, and I went directly to New Zealand immediately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I went a whole bunch of other places too. Like, I just wanted to see the world, and I wanted to actually live life and get an education. And I also wanted to challenge my belief systems at that time initially of what my views and my feelings were about living and the culture in the U.S. versus what I thought it might be in other places. And there's an education you can only get through traveling. And I highly recommend everyone do that, and
I agree
do
so
it
much
now. Like, you only have now. You can't, some people say someday. Sometimes someday never comes.
So then how long have you been away, all in all?
This time around?
Because then you went to New Zealand, everything, you went back to US.
Well, so I traveled for a little under a year about 13 years ago, and then I was back in the U.S. and then 13 years later,
wow,
or 11 years later, here I am 2 years out of the U.S.
So what was then, just to go chronologically, so you, what was your profession when you just to share with everyone, like, what did you do? And, what did you do also when you leave US?
Oh, well, at the first time I left, I was a hairstylist, a cosmetologist. I have gone back and forth between engineering and cosmetology. That's a really unusual combination. Working in the engineering department, drafting, design, project management. This time I was in the engineering field when I quit that job. I haven't been working, traveling. I've been just living my best life. I only within the last 4 months have I been working on starting my own business. And so I haven't really been producing or any kind of income this time around. I've been just wanting to live and experience and take a break because I worked my blank off for 3 years straight. Like during COVID, all I did was work, and I needed to just be free, you know.
And you know what I love about your story? And you also have this variety of talents, you know, because sometimes we stick going back to the beliefs. We always believe that, you know, you need to study for something, then you start working on that, and that's it. That's what all you're gonna do for the rest of your life.
You can reinvent yourself.
And that's so beautiful. And what I liked a lot when I met you was listening all of that. And then I was like, oh my God, this is like inspiring for other people that, you know, they get stuck there all their life. And sometimes, you know, people feel so sad and they don't know, you know, they leave
scared. They let the fear hold them back. Their idea of what's possible is here when anything is possible.
Yeah. And you know, you see your life passing by, you know, you leave for the vacations, and then vacations and holidays are so limited, you know. We were also sharing, like, because in US, like, I'm European, US is so different. You have 7 days of holidays.
You know, a lot of companies give you 1 week of vacation. That's very common, which is really 5 days. And sometimes they like to wrap PTO time and like sick time, everything all into like 5 days, maybe 10 days for the whole year, which is complete insanity. One reason you don't see a lot of Americans traveling is because they don't have the time. And if they do, they have a couple weeks. They're trying to cram in 5 countries and all this stuff in like a 10-day period, and they lose 4 days of just traveling. It's complete insanity, and they're not really getting to experience
what type of traveling you ever do.
Yeah.
And going back to traveling, you know, like, so what countries have you been visiting, like, for the last, you know,
this one?
No.
I got 35 countries,
wow.
So I would take a minute.
Okay.
And in most of the countries, I went all over the country, not just one place. So I still have plenty to see of the world. Like 35 sounds like a lot, but there's still so much to see even with that number. You know?
Yeah. So you've been, like, of course, it's in New Zealand.
I'll do it in regions.
Okay.
I did like pretty much all of Western Europe, from, let's say, Denmark down to Italy over. And then I've also been to like Turkey, and I've been to New Zealand, Australia. I've been to parts of Asia now, few different parts of Asia. And then I've obviously been to the UK. I have also been to Central and South America, and once again, Canada.
So then the question now that I want to ask you is, like, were you living on your savings when you were traveling, or you actually were working? Because you mentioned to me you were doing workaway for a while.
I did a little bit of that here. When I first started this time, I did a few workaways, but workaway, in my experience, wasn't a very good one in Costa Rica, and I just kind of stopped doing it. And so I am living off of credit/savings, and yeah, it's not sustainable what I'm doing, but you can always make money.
But like 10 years ago, what were you doing? You know, when I went to New Zealand.
Okay, that time I had a very small amount of money. I traveled for about a year on only about $5,000, maybe $8,000 for almost a year. And that's pretty low. And I did tons of couch surfing, and I did work exchange programs.
Because work exchange.
That's what I did. Like, you know, it's there's different kinds of traveling.
Yeah.
And the traveling I'm doing this time is totally different.
Yeah, you're investing in your business as well. You know, what I like to share also with people is, like, what are the ways to travel and do like an expat like experience if you want to start, you know. So workaway is an option, you know. And then that's what you done. Of course, like, working on your savings, that is like, it requires a lot of effort, because I've done the same. You know, mm-hmm. When I went to Asia, I was like, oh my God, I saved up for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, but then I enjoy my 6 months away. But in general, there are so many ways people can support themselves.
There are many different ways to travel, depending on what style traveling you like, what lifestyle. Like, you can do work exchanges. You can just rent Airbnbs, and if you go to certain countries, they're quite affordable. Like here in Albania, you pay 300 euros for a whole month.
Yes.
It's like, if you're in the United States, your mouth should be dropping to the ground. Such an affordable
And if
option.
you're from the United States, just to let you know, we are in 2024 now. It's January, and you can stay 1 year visa. You have 1 year visa if you are from
Yes. They may be changing that, but as of right now,
at the moment, yes. So if you want to come and have an experience, this could be a good opportunity.
I highly recommend Albania. If it just depends on what you're into.
Exactly.
For me, I didn't even know. I just came here because I could stay here longer. I didn't know anything about Albania. And I got here, and the first thing I noticed when I got off the plane was like, this looks like California. And that's originally where I'm from. And I was like, what? And so for me, in a weird sort of way, it feels like home just geographically.
So let's go to the next question, such as like, what are the most difficult aspects of living abroad? And we want to do a honest talk here because, we want to do real talk.
Difficult?
For you, of course.
For me, right now I'm focused on, how am I going to make money? So that's really, I am starting a business. And for me currently right now, it's logistical issues with the business I've chosen to start.
And for example, when you were in New Zealand, what were the main challenges you faced? What were the difficult aspects of like living abroad? Because in the end, when you were in New Zealand, you were on the other side of the world compared to where you were from.
Yeah. So there, it was kind of funny. When I was in New Zealand, I was getting towards the end of my savings, and so I started hitchhiking, and I stayed at people's house that gave me a ride. I ended up staying at their house. It wasn't Workaway. It wasn't. I got rides with truckers across the country.
Proper traveling.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really run into too many challenges there. It was just kind of towards the end where my finances were running out at that time.
When you were traveling, have you ever had there is one thing that people face sometimes when they go abroad, such as culture shock. And for example, I had a little bit of culture shock when I first arrived here to Albania for a few days because there was a few things I couldn't get and understand immediately, and then it took me a few days and then I was okay. But for example, did you ever feel this culture shock?
Yeah, in most cases, no, because I would say I'm very flexible and I'm very fluid to whatever, and I try to assimilate. The one country I personally been to that it's not that it was so different, I also was uncomfortable, was Turkey. For me, I left early, and I haven't had that in any other country. So that one was just because, there's a lot of staring you down and
that's what I felt here.
And they have it here. I actually had an incident today that happened today here.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, can you share? I want to
know. Sure. Well, yeah, there's like maybe a watered down version of what I experienced in Turkey here in Albania. I don't feel unsafe or anything like that, but there is a lot of extra long lingering. I tend to jump in the ocean most days, and I was in the water today, and some guy fixated on me, and he was on a bike, and he was trying to talk to me, and then he parked his bike, and he was sitting there waiting for me to get out.
Oh my God!
And thank you so much. A couple of expats that I know from a hiking group happened to be riding by on their bicycles right at that time. They're like, Kiiara, and I jumped out of the water and went straight to them so that this guy would go away.
Yeah,
and he even tried to talk to me with the other guys there,
Let's say that I experienced something similar. It's very easy to be misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so misunderstood many times just because if you come across sometimes with the eyes with someone.
Yeah, if you smile or make eye contact, it might be taken as something more than what it is, unfortunately.
It did happen a few times, so we don't want to say that everyone in
Albania is
I
don't feel unsafe here, but there is,
So that was one of my first culture shock when I arrived. When I was asking people and I contacted my friends, I was like, "Is this a culture of it?" I was sure it was a culture thing, because you could get that this is the way how people interact with the other sex, and that's sometimes
being friendly can be misunderstood.
Yeah, and then if you're not used to it, then it happens that you feel overwhelmed, and I felt a bit overwhelmed. Apart the fact that also here the queue doesn't exist. And we can say that because also Albanian people say, people just, there is no queue. When you are at a supermarket, you will always have people going in front of you. And
I don't get that too much. I just got it at
all the time.
The phone company is the only place I've experienced that, where whatever it's called, Vodafone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other day, even the cashier in the supermarket told us, guys, just come, because otherwise, if there is a little gap, the people are gonna.
I personally haven't had that at grocery stores, but I've had it at Vodafone.
So for you then, there wasn't really major challenges.
No, because I think I don't know. I'm open. I'm looking for changes. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
That's good. That's nice.
I would say. Yeah, I would say Turkey was the only place I was like, nah, but it wasn't just that it was different, it was uncomfortable. So
So then we're gonna shift to the next question, which is like, how it is dating abroad? Because I think that as everyone, at some point, if you are single and you move abroad, you're gonna interact with other people, you're gonna, so how it is.
Yes. Well, so there is a continuous thing that does happen. If you do make a connection with somebody, you're leaving. Like if you're not staying somewhere, like in this case, I'm staying places maybe for 5 months, and then I moved to another country. And so I've had that happen a few times, and so it kind of makes, if it becomes where you get like very, emotions get involved, it can be a little bit heartbreaking, because
So it's difficult because, from my example, I met Marcin, but then he was leaving as well too, he was leaving to Mexico, and he was gonna be, but then that was like, at some point we took a decision to move together, but it is.
And there's major cultural differences if you're meeting someone and they have totally different culture, and how does that work? And I guess ultimately, if you're meant to be with someone, you'll end up being with them, and you can overcome those things, communicate, figure out how you can mesh it together.
Any tip for someone who want to date? I mean, do you think the apps are useful?
So I personally use Tinder only because it gives you location, so you know that someone's near you. And if you're traveling, if you don't have a car or whatever, so for convenience, I find Tinder to be good because you can find people that are near you.
Yeah, and I like also to take off stigma on certain things like apps, for example. Some people think like, oh, why do you need to meet people on an app? But guys, the reality is that when you're traveling abroad, Facebooks, the Facebook groups are very useful to meet people. And my perception is that sometimes people have such a stigma like, oh, you can only meet people when you are outside. Yeah, but it's so easier to first connect online. Like with us, we came across with each other because a friend in common invited me to this brunch, and I met her online. So I always like to say to people, let's stop having the stigma that, meeting online, it's a loser thing,
I would just diversify. I would try to get involved with, if there is, particularly here in Saranda, there's things that I like. There's a hiking group. Great way to meet people. You have common interests.
Yeah, that's very good actually for people that like hiking, not like me.
Not her. But I mean, if there's other things like what are you going to, the meditations and things like that?
I went to a cacao ceremony. I went to a cacao ceremony, like something like mindful or spiritual or gathering breath work. That was
I think it's good to just do. I think do what you like and stay on your path, and the right people will end up on that path that you're already on.
That's very good point of view.
Wherever
I
you
really like it. Yeah. So then going to the next question is like, what living abroad brought you in life? Any?
Oh, wow. So many things. It's brought me multiple reference points of the world and how it operates, how different governments work, how different cultures are. I can really assess and compare to what I was brought up with thinking or what I was told. I can also reinforce or challenge my current beliefs by my experience traveling abroad, because I as an American, you have these certain ideas of different countries. Well, I freaking went to them and I'm like, oh shit, this is not what I thought. This is not what I thought. Whether that be good or bad, it's just I got to see what it really was, not what I was told it was. And I think there's no better education than traveling. Like it's an experience. It's experiential learning, and I believe firmly that is the best way to learn things.
So then you think that, I always think it's life changing, isn't it? Like personality changing.
And then you just see so many different terrain. You get to see the beauty of other cultures that may be missing in yours, and like how different lives can be, different alternative lifestyles.
And how it's surprising, because we were talking the other day about how Albania is impacting you, and it's impacting me positively as well, massively,
It's challenged my belief systems. I've had certain positive/negative, just whatever, my belief systems based on experiences in my life. Well, I have been challenged by the type of people that I've met here, has challenged my set belief system I have.
It's so big. I mean, just mentioning it, it's so big. Yeah, because we carry and we live our life from taken by our belief systems, and that creates our reality, and our reality creates our future. And sometimes people are upset all their bloody life, because they can challenge their belief systems.
Yeah, I mean, I had to like really take a look at myself and how I think, and I have to change my thinking, because if I change my thinking, it'll change my reality.
And is this not amazing? It's so interesting, because then when we were with Molly the other day, all of us, we were like, yeah, Albania. So guys, come to Albania. Like, it might change your life.
I actually love it here, and I'm trying to figure out how I can come back and stay permanently. It might be a little delayed, but I've got some crazy, wild, big ideas.
Those are very good ideas, and I'm really happy. Maybe one day when it becomes more developed, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the future holds, but it's definitely. I mean, you really, before we end this video, you should end it with a view out your window.
We can really share. Yeah. Because we're in
There's
very
something
nice
very magical about this place, and well, at least for me, and unexpected. I literally knew nothing about it.
I think I will share some, because Marcin is taking amazing video. Marcin is my husband. He's taking amazing videos about Saranda, and I can put some nice videos about where we are. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
It's pretty, and this place, guys, check Saranda, south of Albania, because it's so worth it, I think it's a place.
So far, everywhere in Albania has been beautiful.
Yeah, that's true.
I haven't been anywhere that I went, oh, this is.
So I think you kind of answered, but I want to ask you this again, because so then for you, what has been the best part of living abroad? Really, the top, cherry on the cake.
I mean, I don't know if this doesn't sound that exciting, but it's just getting to live in another part of the world and assimilate, and just, for me, it's just seeing a different way of life, a life that is more in alignment with my value system.
Yeah.
For me, yeah. And that, okay, yes, things can be different, things can be better, they can be better, and I don't have to accept what I've been given.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's going to be reshared somewhere. That's beautiful. So then if we want to give a recommendation to someone, because what is the one mistake you made when you were traveling, and then you can now share, and we can help someone else to not do the same or end up doing the same.
Mistake that I've made? I don't know.
Like sometimes, unfortunately, where I live, because I live in Tenerife, and there is a thing that people trust people, they put money up front, and these places don't exist when they rent places, and that's unfortunately it's quite common. So you should, go through a proper agency, having referrals, and never just trust people like that.
I did do a little bit of that here in Albania. Yeah. I did. I didn't do I did it through a family. Everything was fine. Luckily, no problems. But I think I'm so cautious because of living in the U.S. You tend to be looking over your shoulder, and I don't trust. So I have a lot of things in place to protect myself. So I don't know. I don't know what mistake I would say I've made. I mean, maybe I'm not handling my finances the best this time around, but money doesn't matter. You can always get money back. You can't get
Yeah.
time. You can't get
Like
experiences.
energy, money, like it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
and go
I'm
and-
not. That's probably I may have not. Maybe I should have figured out like some kind of side hustle, a little bit of income, for me personally. But I mean, I don't know. I would say I made any mistakes.
something. Okay.
But I can tell you things like to avoid things happening to you. But I already put those things in place. Have multiple sources of access to money in different ways, because in case there's a problem with something, you have another avenue.
That's a very good tip.
Yeah. I mean, I already do all that, so I haven't had, but if I didn't have things in place, then those would have been my mistakes.
Yeah. Also,
like
what
things
if
like
you
that.
lose your card? Like, you need to have other, sources to.
Card, have photos of your passport, your birth certificate, multiple, have photos of the things in case those things get stolen from you, as you've had happen to you in the past.
In San Francisco.
In the United States.
And literally, since not even 20 minutes we were there, like, and that can share in another story, but it was pretty quick, they literally crushed the back of the glass in our car, and I was still in the car. That was the craziest thing. We were on Twin Peaks. So guys, if you go to Twin Peaks in San Francisco, be very careful, because it's so common. The day after, me and Martin was trying to look for, maybe some documents, because that's why, they stole Martin's passport.
Yeah.
And we found so many other documents of people. So we made a big bag with, all of these belongings, and we brought it to the police.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was crazy. We found so much stuff because people, the robbers just like were robbing.
So you guys
backpacks.
did get your passport back? You were able to retrieve?
No.
Okay.
No, Martin. And it was crazy.
So and as far as avoiding mistakes, you just need to have multiple things in place, and think of if one thing goes, you have other options. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that's a very good advice. Yeah. So then we are arriving to, I think, let's see if it's going to be the last question, but what would you say to someone that is still thinking about it, that desire inside, and
So what I find, if someone truly just isn't interested in traveling, that's fine. There are people out there in the world that are happy of not going anywhere. But if you truly desire it and you're letting fear hold you back, then you're not living, If you're afraid, let it wave crash through you, and do it anyways. Do it anyways. Just do it. I mean, I did it. I had some fears about selling everything and just
don't live out of fear.
Yeah, I had all these fears, and I did it anyways. And even though I should be more scared now, I'm not. I was more scared before I did it than after I did it, and I have actually bigger things to deal with now than I ever would have then. And I'm okay now, and I wasn't okay then. So.
And there is nothing really that makes you grow in life in all the levels, really, all the aspects, like having an experience abroad. So
do it anyways. If you're letting fear hold you back, whatever your reasons are, do it anyways.
That's amazing. Well, I think we shared a lot of values today. I had no doubts. So we shared a lot of value. Then thank you. I will definitely invite you again for sure for another chat on the sofa. And thanks you guys for listening. I will leave you also Kiara's contacts here below the comments, so you can, in the caption, so you can, follow her as well. And let me know what you think about it. If you have any questions, just write them below in the comments. Bye.
Bye.